Let me know if this gets your jingle bells rocking. Girl from a wealthy family disappears. A troubled detective or person who is down on their luck is assigned to a disturbing case that forces him to confront his demons. A series of seemingly unrelated events gradually reveals a serial killer and a larger conspiracy with far-reaching consequences. The investigation of a crime uncovers long-buried secrets and painful truths about a family or a community. The psychological impact of isolation, guilt, or trauma on individuals and their relationships is deeply woven throughout the story. Well, it's a plot to the most popular Nordic noir movie of all time, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. In fact, I've just chiseled out the ice-cold points of every Nordic noir, and Frozen fits each perfectly. By the time we get done with this Winter's Tale, you'll have no choice but to agree with me that it puts the fa-la-la-la-la in fatality. There's so much that lies hidden with Frozen despite years and years of investigation. Yeah, that's right. Over 10 years later, Frozen is still getting away with it. It's the ultimate cold case. What I share with you tonight, well, it'll change the way you look at Frozen forever. I know it changed me. And to think, all I wanted to do was break out some eggnog and enjoy some reindeer games. Right away I know something's off with this guy, the father. There's always a problem with the father. My suspicion started almost immediately, but he was so elusive. Always seemed like he was able to slip away into the cold winds and snows of Arendelle before I could figure out what he was up to. But finally, after hours and hours of following him, after gallons of eggnog and nicotine, he slipped up. I knew I was onto something when he said this. He tells Elsa the gloves will help buffer her magic. How does he know that? Some of this doesn't make sense until you remember one key thing about the father. He's also a collector of occult books. There are very few people who collect occult books. There are even fewer people who know which exact book to go to that detail a dark ritual to save someone from a magic spell. There are fewer people still that can get to that exact page within a few flips. So this guy isn't the stern but loving father that he appears to be at first glance. That's why we watch closely. It also answers the question of why he mysteriously died. Magic that saves someone from the dead and erases memories doesn't come without a cost. And this clearly isn't the first time this guy's played with the dark arts. His bill came due to all the evil forces he owed. And his life and his wife's life were the price. Frozen. It's a bleak movie, and I'm afraid what I discover next is one of the most disturbing things of my entire career. Elsa. How could everyone have missed so much about Elsa? Now look, Disney is an LA-based company, and while you can take the story out of LA, you can never take LA out of the story. They want me to believe Elsa is an awkward outcast who's afraid to leave her room and afraid to let the world see who she really is. They want me to blame her father, simply because he said,
"Conceal it.
Don't feel it."
Well, that's how strippers are created. If I blamed her father, hell, all fathers, for this kind of thing, I'd be single every Christmas Eve. Strippers aren't afraid to reveal to the world who they really are. That's why Elsa is the least believable character in this whole thing. Elsa, the blonde ice queen. I mean, do they come any other way? Most ice queens I know don't need to be convinced that they should embrace who they are. That's actually their biggest problem. And yet that's exactly what Disney is asking me to believe. Well, that's some tough eggnog to swallow, Walt. No matter how much cognac you put in it. Here's another thing which just doesn't sit right in my sleigh tonight. Elsa's control of her magical powers. Even as a child, she had excellent control of her magical abilities. Just look at her as she perfectly creates snowy hills with Anna. Even after the accident, she's able to create a highly detailed ice castle. Even when she's attacked in her frozen castle, she creates an ice shield thick enough to block an arrow, but doesn't lose control and fill the whole room with ice. She spears a thug with icicles but doesn't kill him. She's able to push another goon from Weaselton to the edge of her castle, but she doesn't lose control of the spell and shove him off. She's fully in control of her magic. She just has bad aim. I could dive into how the message here is that bad girls always hurt the good girls around them, but it's Christmas. Who am I kidding? What I have to say next is so much worse. Here's perhaps the most sinister part in all of Frozen. You've got to have an ice-cold heart to live through what comes next. To be honest, I don't even want to say this, but we must consider a few very important events. It's not Elsa who goes to the trolls to figure out how she can save her sister from the ice spell. And it's not even Elsa who saves her sister. Despite being extraordinarily beautiful, powerful, and talented, Elsa can't save her sister. She can't defeat evil Hans. I mean, look at this. He was going to strike her with a sword in the middle of her own magical blizzard. The sword isn't even magical. Are you kidding me? She's powerful enough to drown an entire kingdom in an eternal night and bleak winter. She could have frozen him on the spot. She could have frozen the sword. She could have speared him with ice, just like she did to the thug in her ice palace. She could have created one of those abominable snow monsters to kill him with a single swipe of its wintry paw. But she doesn't. Why? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? Disney needs a constant line of talented, beautiful female actresses like a brothel needs failed supermodels. If Disney tells all future talented, beautiful, powerful females that they are incredibly gifted, unique, and yes, actually very, very powerful and can do whatever they want, then Disney loses all of their power. What they need is something so much more perverse. They need a bunch of broken ladies to become Disney actresses. Gifted, beautiful, powerful, yes, but deeply, deeply disturbed, deeply messed up. That's what Mickey wants for Christmas, and guess what? The success of Frozen guarantees a solid stream of these broken females for the next 100 Yuletides. I hope you brought a turtleneck, sweater, jacket, and a warm winter cap because baby, it's cold outside and it's only going to get more icy. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Even the snow's dirty in this one. Count Olaf. What could possibly be wrong with a playful, magical snowman? Even I didn't want to believe the snowman was in on all this. Who doesn't love a magical snowman? And that thought right there blew it all up. On the surface, Count Olaf is the comic relief magical snowman. But if you look a little closer, he's one of the darkest characters the Mouse House has ever created. Count Olaf, or as I like to call him, the strung out Count. You know, a guy who calls himself the snowman. He's real popular with all the ice queens here in LA. I know. Who would have thought all these ice queens love snow so much? So much that they all need their own personal snowman. And what's this snowman love so much?
I've always wanted a nose.
The fact that he's got a nose, but not just any nose, a huge nose. Because he loves to get that powder hoovered up, and the bigger the nose, the better, the faster he can do it. Especially if you're as strung out as Count Olaf. I mean, look at him. Look at the dark circles under his eyes. Who knows when the last time this guy got some sleep was? And you've got to ask, what's he running from? What's he doing all this snow for? And then you see it. You can never unsee it. He wants to sleep. He wants the big sleep. The sleep that lasts forever. He wants to know what summer's like. I mean, deep down, this guy is suicidal. He wants it all to be over. Yeah. The strung out Count can't take it anymore. He's been trying to overdose for years and it just ain't working. So he needs to get melted to finally get free of his icy addiction. You might be thinking, this is the most jaded, nihilistic interpretation of a story you've ever heard. Isn't this all just too much? Isn't this all just the cold-hearted ramblings of a bitter old man? Well, just listen to this. Then you tell me if I'm the one who's making stuff up out of thin air. Or if we all just weren't paying attention despite the obvious signs to the contrary. Murderers, thieves, and Disney all have one thing in common. They can't help but tell on themselves. They want to be found out. They want you to uncover the clues. It really roasts their little chestnuts when someone starts to figure things out. It's the only way to truly appreciate their work, so to speak. My line of work, everyone thinks you always have to be talking, but really, all you have to do is listen and watch them closely. So if you watch someone like Anna closely, listen to what's being said about her, a little jingle starts to form, and it ain't merry and bright. No one watched Anna before, not even me, not the way they wanted us to. In hindsight, it's so obvious. How could we have all missed it for so long? That's due to the evil genius at work here in this fairy tale. But she's absolutely essential to one of the greatest cover-ups in Disney history. Hitchcock wishes he could have written this character. Think about this. We spend most of the story with her and we trust her. She's the innocent younger sister. What could she possibly be up to until you stop and think? What does everyone say about her? All the cynics and villains in this show, they each say the same thing.
So desperate for love.
She's gullible. She's desperate for attention. They can't believe how desperate and gullible she is. Know anyone like that? Just look in the mirror. We were all stupid and gullible enough to fall in love with Anna at first sight. We couldn't take our eyes off her. Isn't all viewing falling in love at first sight? A desperate desire for an immediate connection, a desire to be swept away into something warm and genuine, an escape from a bitter, cold reality. But this movie is titled Frozen, and it's a stone-cold killer, as cold as they come, and that's how they did it. That's how they've gotten away with so much for so long, an old parlor trick. Put a beautiful, innocent girl in front of a crowd and they'll watch everything she does. And that allows for someone else to escape notice, to get away with everything while no one is looking. Who is that? Who is the real villain of Frozen? How have they remained hidden for so long despite all the years of analysis? Well, I'll tell you in just a moment. There's a lot of rogues doing a lot of nefarious things in this movie, but one character above all, has gotten away with so much more than anyone has ever thought possible up until now. But Anna, she's two things at once. She's a key. She's the part where the villains tell on themselves. Gives you one of the keys to figure everything out. Find all the bodies, find all the snuff tapes, the crooked politicians, the dirty businessmen, and Anna was also a warning. If you're gullible, if you aren't questioning what's going on around you, you're never going to really understand what Frozen's all about. Oh yeah, and I forgot. She's a third thing. She's guilty. She's in on it all. She wanted a connection so bad that she was just happy to have us watching her, hanging on her every word and action while true acts of horror were taking place just beyond our sight. And all we had to do was turn our heads to watch closely, because then we'd see this guy. Now here's a thought for everyone, not just tiny tots with eyes all aglow that will make it hard to sleep at night for the rest of your lives. Kristoff, charming, bashful, handsome. We all know the type, a farm boy with a heart of gold. But then again, we don't know anything about him. All we know is what he doesn't do. He doesn't find the staircase up the mountain to help find Anna's sister. The strung-out Count does. He doesn't take the ice ray for Anna in a noble display of self-sacrifice. He isn't able to save Anna and kiss her. He isn't able to make it to Anna for the true love's kiss, to lift the spell. Sure, he saved them from the wolves, but did he really? It's obvious she was supposed to fall off the sled and be devoured by them. Something's off about Kristoff.
Didn't your parents ever warn you about strangers?
And here's the thing that really gets the coal in my stocking burning. You've got to ask yourself, what would make a whole clan of ice cutters leave a child behind in the dead of a dark winter's night? Let's cut to the chase. No one would leave a good kid out alone in the ice-cold winter wastes to die. Only a truly evil child. An evil child they wanted dead. An evil child they were so afraid of, who was so powerful that they let him LARP an ice cutter. How evil is this Kristoff guy? To answer this, we have to explore one key scene. A slip-up that gives the whole thing away, reveals to us who Kristoff really is, and what this movie has been about all along. The sauna. Immediately I know something is wrong here. Horribly, horribly wrong. You've got to wonder about the clerk. He sees a lady come in with basically no dress on, seeking refuge from the cold. He should have given her a warm blanket and some hot cocoa, sat her down by the fire, or taken her to the sauna since, well, it's a sauna. But guess what? Someone's already in the sauna. Fact, it's packed. There's a whole family in there. Now look at their eyes. They aren't there by choice. They're absolutely terrified of Kristoff. He's not randomly visiting this store. He's here to butcher that family in the sauna. They even play dark, menacing music when he shows up, all covered in his disguise. That's why they look so horrified. They've heard the stories. Tales have been going far and wide in the countryside of Arendelle. Don't stay out past your bedtime. Do what your mother tells you. Otherwise, you and your whole family could wind up in the sauna that no one comes back from. They've all heard the screams. Oh yeah, is Kristoff here? The ice block butcher of Arendelle. People thought he might be a young Santa Claus, a young Kris Kringle. Hell, even I did for a little while. Just wanted this guy to fall in love with Anna and deliver presents to boys and girls all over the world. Turns out the only thing this guy's been delivering are body parts all over Arendelle. And to be honest, this film has been trying to tell us this from the start. That's right. We've got to go all the way back to the beginning for two major revelations. The dead giveaway was frozen in time for all to see. The title. Its letters have clearly been cut from large blocks of ice. Who cuts ice? It's not Elsa, Anna, or Hans. No, it's Kristoff. This story was always about Kristoff. They were always trying to warn us about Kristoff, the ice butcher of Arendelle. But if he's a butcher, where are the bodies? Well, just consider this huge, terrifying clue, lost in the snow and ice for so long until now. The opening scene. This is the most disturbing opening scene of all time in a Disney movie. Snow is falling. The blue winter night dissolves into a murderous red lighting. And then you see it. Underwater. Below the ice-covered lake. Someone's underwater. The perspective has shifted. It's from somebody's point of view. First you don't want to admit it, but then you have no choice. This is clearly from the point of view of Kristoff's first victim, who will slowly sink down to the bottom of the lake, never to be found. The saw slices through the ice here, but it's too late. They won't see the body in time. We won't see the body in time. The cruelty of the shot emphasizes how close these ice cutters were to seeing the victim, recovering the body so at least she could have a proper burial. That would just be another cold case, another victim of the ice butcher of Arendelle. Like I said, dead giveaway. It's a gruesome suggestion. He's sawing up the bodies and casting their parts off into the frozen lake. A true Scandinavian noir thriller if I ever saw one. Cold-blooded, you might even call it Frozen. It'll make your blood run cold, that's for sure. Speaking of blood, time to talk about Sven. I know what you're thinking. Really? Really? The reindeer? You gonna put the reindeer in cuffs on Christmas? Yeah, I do. The best of us simply thought Sven was the adorable mute comic relief creature, and up until the last minute, that's what they had me thinking as well. Almost got me. Almost got away with it for another 10 years. Pains me to ever say anything bad about a reindeer. Sven is the willing, bumbling accomplice. Oh, he knows what Kristoff's up to. He's seen it many times before. In fact, he likely even knows that he helps charm Kristoff's victims. How could a guy whose best friend is a reindeer be dangerous? It's a world-class act of deception, and it has to be. Otherwise, Frozen wouldn't have been able to get away with it for so long. It's been over 10 years since this movie came out, took the world by storm, buried it in a winter of crime, hidden in the snowbanks that are still thawing to this day. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and Sven has red all over his hoofs. Blood red, that is. Jesus. I think I've had enough of this dark tale. Well, maybe just a cigarette more. Pay attention, because if you miss this, you miss everything. We were all too quick to just write this guy off. The mayor of Weaselton. He's just so obvious, wasn't he? He says,
Open those gates so I may unlock your secrets.
Did I say that out loud?
in any other Disney movie, this guy would have been the villain. He even confesses to being the villain. That's why he worked so well at tricking everyone into thinking he was the actual villain of the story. He's older, he's shorter, and he's a ruthless businessman out only for his own interests. We can all see what's going to happen. He's going to force Elsa or Anna to marry him, and then he will drive the kingdom to ruin with his greed. And at just the right moment, he might even murder one of them. Certified Disney villain arc if I ever saw one. But that's the problem. We're not in a Disney movie. We're in a Nordic noir. And in a Nordic noir, he's like a butter knife against frozen fjord water. He just doesn't cut it. So what's he doing here? Why is he in my rogues gallery of one of the darkest Disney movies of all time? Well, don't you see? He's the key to everything. He's the guy who unlocked the mystery to the dark tale, the ultimate cold case that has stalked Disney fans for 10 years. He says he wants to.
Open those gates so I may unlock your secrets.
Secrets. Plural. Elsa is only one of the many secrets of this wintry kingdom. He even confesses.
Did I say that out loud?
But not to what we all thought. Oh no. There's a dark brilliance to the writing here, suggesting one thing, but meaning an entirely different thing. We, the gullible audience of Annas, who believe everything we are told at first sight, think he's just confessed to being the Disney villain. But in fact, he's confessed to accidentally turning everyone's attention to the fact that there are multiple dark secrets buried within this cold tale.
Did I say that out loud?
And because he's told on his fellow criminals, because he's just accidentally revealed everything, he fesses up to his epic blunder. And once I realized what he was saying, I knew I had to investigate. Knew I had to search for every last secret he was talking about. And the secrets I've seen have disturbed me forever. Which is why I sympathize so much with this guy. Although it's been said many times, many ways, they did Hans dirty. This is probably the only good guy during the whole sordid spectacle. He falls in love with Anna the moment he meets her. They've got so much chemistry they can complete each other's sentences and dance in unison. He leads a party of men to save the Ice Queen, not kill her. Then the trolls hit him with that fixer-upper spell. He loses his mind. He confesses an evil plan to Anna, leaves her to die. Then he tries to kill her sister. When he wakes up, he doesn't immediately try to attack Anna. This is his one last chance. There's not many people around, but he doesn't try to kill her, not even close. He's in disbelief that she's still alive, but in the tone of his voice, you can still feel the warmth of love. He's glad she's still alive.
Anna? But she froze your heart.
It's almost like he doesn't even remember trying to kill her. It's almost like he was under the influence of an evil spell. Let's be real. He was the lone good guy surrounded by a cast of total psychos. He paid dearly for it. The next time we see Hans, they throw him in a cell. He puts his hand on his head. He can't even stand up. He's still reeling from the troll spell that they cast on him. For Hans, Frozen only leaves us with darkness. He doesn't find true love. He doesn't slay the evil trolls. And because of that, they got away with it. My God. They put their evil Ice Queen on the throne. They killed the mother and the father on the accursed high seas, or at least were implicit in it. They memory hold the only person who could remember how it all started. They put their evil demon seed, Kristoff, right in the royal family's most intimate circle. He'll be ready for whatever the next part of their devious plan is. And in the meantime, he'll keep on killing and butchering. And the most masterful stroke of all, They got rid of Hans, the only guy with noble intentions and the bravado to pick up a sword and do something about all the evil in the world. They cursed him and Anna, ruined his true love, and they got him kicked out of the kingdom forever. But just as I'm about to close the file, I have to admit it. Something ain't right. Something's been bothering me this whole time. I still can't get over this. Kristoff, Santa Claus, something's not right, something's missing. I go back through everything, and that's when I find it. The discovery of a lifetime. This right here is a crucial piece of Frozen lore that has been neglected for a decade. Well, that ends tonight. I want you to remember this ice block. Next, we've got to go back to the sauna. Did you see it? They flashed it so quickly. You really got to watch these dirt bags. It's the sleigh, loaded with ice blocks. No one cuts ice to sell in the winter. It's the most ridiculous moment in the entire movie, and no one wanted to confront it. But here's what it really means. Kristoff cuts an ice block for every victim, then loads the sleigh full of ice blocks. And now I can say what Frozen's really about. Frozen is the dark origin story of Disney's Santa Claus. Santa Claus, a murderer named Kristoff who one night came to terms with his evil past. It's utterly chilling. Of course it is. It's Frozen. But it all makes perfect sense. The ice blocks are what will eventually give old Kris Kringle the idea for the gift box. Now, instead of loading up ice blocks for victims on his sleigh, he loads up presents for children. He's trying to atone. All these years later, his guilt finally caught up to him. And oh yeah, Santa comes at night for a reason. He used to spend his nights killing. Now he spends one night every year delivering presents. Why just one night? It's in honor of the night he realized he should stop all the killing. And that forces us to ask this terrifying question. If Kristoff is a murderer, why doesn't he kill Anna? Doesn't that disprove this entire conspiracy theory? Well, that's easy. She called his bluff. She gave him his favorite tools of murder. The rope that binds, the ice pick that splits heads. See right here? She tosses it to him. He can't believe a victim is offering herself so willingly. It's a desperate, gutsy move on her part. Look how terrified she is here. But as I said earlier, Anna wants one thing more than anything else. She wants attention. And this guy will definitely obsess over her cold, dead body. But he doesn't kill her. Because it's just enough to throw him off, make him think about things. And oh yeah, you can be sure he thought about it. Look at his face right here. He's thinking about killing her right then and there. But he sticks to the plan. Does what he always does at this point. Takes her to the trolls for something big. But here's a little secret I've been holding back until now. Saw it early, but just couldn't make any sense of it. Not until now. Remember the sauna? Well, guess what's out in front on the doorstep? 2 troll totems. It's a very clear and obvious sign that they own this shop and sauna, that it's under their control. Lone stragglers wander into this shop. The shopkeep distracts them, keeps them there. He just needs to stall him long enough for Kristoff to stop by, and he always does. Collects his victims. Here's another big clue. The trolls are very, very excited that Kristoff brought a girl back. I can't stress enough how important this is. This means most of his victims must have been males. But why? To figure out, I have to hit the books, the spell books, that is. And once I see the page, it all makes sense. The trolls have been trying to fulfill a prophecy. See this page? It shows a troll with his hands extended under the northern lights over a king in armor, and that's very, very important. In order for the trolls to seize total control over Arendelle, they have to cast their spell on a fallen king who has come from a battle. It didn't work on Anna's father because he hasn't been in battle, but Kristoff, he has the chance to go to war with Weaselton. And if someone can strike him with a fatal blow, then these trolls can take over Arendelle. They can take control of the fallen king's mind. Great events are set in motion at the very end as they humiliate the King Weasel and cast him away. Oh, but he'll be back. You can be sure of that. With all the soldiers he can afford. The trolls are counting on it. And this is the part where everyone has been right. They decide to marry Kristoff into the royal family of Arendelle. They decide to cast a curse on Hans. They won't kill Anna tonight in their strange ritual. It wouldn't help fulfill their dark prophecy. They chose to play the long game, get Kristoff into the royal family. He'll be the fallen king that unleashes their nightmarish rule upon this beautiful kingdom. Jesus. Like I said, no one was innocent. They were all in on it. They all had their dark seekers, tried to cover up their dirty deeds. We all thought it was just the trolls who were up to no good. But everyone in this Christmas story was on the naughty list. Tried to hide from the world that Kristoff is Santa and that Santa is a murderer, driven by his guilt to deliver presents all over the world. So have a holly jolly Christmas, and in case you didn't hear, Frozen is the darkest Disney movie ever created.